What's up, guys? It's your fellow weirdo here, Tawny Michelle, back at you again with another video. In today's video, we are doing the 2020 sign predictions. So basically the astrological predictions for each sign. Definitely stay tuned if you would like to see how 2020 is going to go for your sign and the biggest themes of 2020 for your sign. If you're new here, my name is Tawny Michelle and I'm a weirdo. We do all kinds of really cool videos over here like tarot, astrology, and spirituality videos. And basically, if you're a weirdo, you would fit in great here. I do like to mention that I am not all love, light, rainbows, and twin flames over here. I do like to keep it real and blunt with you guys, and I do believe in balance of light and dark. So if any of that interests you, make sure you join us and hit the subscribe button before you leave. Give this video a thumbs up if you end up liking it, and leave a comment down below. Don't want to waste too much time. I know I'm super late to this video. Trust me, it's already January 2020, so don't judge me. And as always, you want to listen to your rising sign. Your rising sign is probably going to resonate most. So keep that in mind. You can listen to your other signs as well, but your rising sign is going to resonate most. And if you need to find out your rising sign, I will link Cafe Astrology down in the description below. It's an easy site that you can use that will tell you what your rising sign is. I also did do a whole webinar about Jupiter and Capricorn for 2020 and went in a lot of detail for each sign. So if that is something that you're interested in, you can get that over on my Patreon. So we're just going to go over the basics in this video of what's going to happen for each sign in 2020. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So first things first, we're going to start with Aries just because you're the first sign of the zodiac. So Aries, 2019 was a really big year for you when it came to career and your home life. This axis of your 10th and 4th house, basically your public image, your public life, your reputation, what you do out in the world versus your home life, what you do behind closed doors, what you do in private, what you do at home. Where is your home? How do you define your home? And so you've been kind of bouncing back and forth between this axis. A lot of things have probably changed in your career within the last few years, and you are still going to see that big theme of career for the first half of 2020, if not even all the way up until the end of 2020. Honestly, you have all of these planets in Capricorn in your house of career, life purpose, what you are here to put out into the world, your reputation, your public image, and basically your achievements in life. You've probably felt in 2019 like you've had to really buckle down, like you've had to really be responsible, like you've had to really get disciplined in order to really achieve things, like you've had to work harder to really achieve your goals. And maybe you've been being pushed a little bit back to isolate a little bit more, to stay at home a little bit more, to worry about the family a little bit more instead of constantly pushing to your life goals. And you may have been a little bit confused about your direction in life or where you're headed, but that is perfectly normal because you have been being pushed to really focus on home and family and your personal and private life, even your childhood. You've probably had a lot of childhood healing that has taken place in 2019 and that will also take place in 2020. And so the first part of 2020 for you, I feel like, is kind of going to feel like 2019 still. You're still going to be thinking about your direction, your path in life, where you're going in life, what you should be doing. Some of you may find it easier to work from home in 2020, or you may have found it easier to work from home into 2019 as well. That could be a huge case scenario here. But with Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter all up in your house of career and life purpose and achievement, you've been really having to take a look at those things. Those areas of your life have really been transformed. Maybe your reputation has went through a lot of transformation and how people see you, your public image. Those things have probably went through a lot of change and transformation. You've probably had to die and be reborn when it comes to your career or where you're going or your direction a million times. But with Jupiter moving from your 9th house into your 10th house recently, it was in your 9th house all throughout 2019. So you were really focusing on higher education, your beliefs. You were expanding your spirituality and what you believe about the world. Maybe you were working on something or working on learning something, or you were working on possibly putting something out into the world. But with Jupiter moving into your house of career and achievement and public image and reputation, this is really going to help you in the sense that this hard work that you've been putting towards the direction of your life purpose, your career, your achievement, achievements, your goals in life, like what it is that you want to build for your life in this life. Jupiter is going to help reward all of that work that you've been doing, especially I feel towards the end of the year. You're really going to start seeing that improvement, and you're probably going to want to bring in skills of teaching and learning or spirituality or beliefs. You're going to want to bring those things into your career life, which I feel could end up causing a problem with you towards the middle of the year to the end of the year. So you do want to be careful with that, because Mars is going to be in your sign this year for a good 6 months, and it's going to retrograde there, which is why it's going to be there for so long. And Mars is your ruling planet. So when Mars gets into your sign, you're going to feel really like an Aries. You are going to feel energetic and powerful, and you are probably going to be easily aggravated, frustrated, but you're also going to have this energy of like, I need to go, I need to assert. But Mars is going to be making a hard aspect to all that stuff in your career sector. So you want to be careful, because I feel for a lot of you, this could be the change you've been waiting for. This could actually like switch something for you, where you're finally like, okay, if you've been thinking about changing your career path or going to school for a different thing, you know, or doing something else with your life, or you've been having goals that you feel like you haven't had the energy or the stamina to achieve, then this is really going to help you with that. But you may face some issues with authority, you may face some issues with conflict in the career field, and this is really, I feel like, teaching you how to grow up. That's kind of what the energy I'm getting, and not to be rude or offensive or anything, just to be real with you guys. I feel like this is going to teach you how to grow up. This is going to help you make the changes that you need. This is going to help you make long-lasting change. So Mars enters Aries June 27th. So around June 27th, you could start feeling this drive, you know, like this ambition to really want to amp things up, really want to do things. But then it's going to start making aspects over to all that stuff in your career place. So you may have challenges with authority figures or a father or people that are in power. You may start having conflicts there. So you just want to really kind of watch out for that as well. Because if you're not careful, Mars also rules your 8th house. So this could bring in some kind of financial loss or some kind of change in finances and transformation. But the thing is with Jupiter in the 10th house, you are going to learn from this. You are going to grow from this. So whatever happens, I feel like it's kind of meant to happen to shake you free of something, to help you turn on that switch to go in a new direction. And I think it's really crazy because this is going to happen around eclipse season. And so that those final eclipses in the Cancer Capricorn axis are really going to like show you what the last few years with these Cancer and Capricorn energies have been about for you. And so it's going to be very important for you, Aries, to pay attention around that time and see what goes on in your life. But yeah, you could have some challenges with an authority or just someone in power in general. So you really do want to watch out and be careful for that. But you also may want to seek wisdom from individuals that are very wise, very experienced, that are probably a little bit more mature in age and older, and just have really been through things. That, I mean, this would be a great year to have some kind of teacher or guide in, you know, whether it's like a spiritual guide or just someone that's really guiding you and teaching you these lessons this year. Because if not, you could get really amped up and end up getting yourself into some kind of issue with basically your career, or you could end up doing things that could really backfire and hurt your career or hurt your life path in some way. Now, I personally believe that everything happens for a reason. So if some stuff happens, like I said, you're going to grow and learn from it with Jupiter there. With Jupiter, the ruler of your 9th and your 10th, you know, Jupiter's going to make sure that you're learning the lessons, but it's going to show you what areas in your life path, your goals, your purpose just are not working anymore, and where you need to kind of trust yourself more. Cancer, 4th house, where you need to go within and trust yourself more and take a break and relax and all of that. These are going to be like where you're really applying those lessons, I feel. So the other big thing that is happening in 2020 for everybody is that basically the North Node and the South Node are moving into the axis of Gemini and Sagittarius from Capricorn and Cancer. So the North Node will be in Gemini and the South Node will be in Sagittarius. Okay, so basically with the North Node in Gemini, this is going to be your 3rd house. The South Node is going to be in your 9th house space, which is Sagittarius. And what this means, Aries, is for the next 18 months from May 5th until 18 months after, so sometime in 2021, you are going to start being, your energy is going to start being pushed to focus on 3rd house things. So this could be marketing, business meetings, technology, being innovative, also self-expression and how you express yourself in your local environment or on the internet, broadcasting, things of that nature, and also your local community, transportation, and the way that you think about things, your thought patterns, how you communicate. All of these things are going to start really coming to the forefront. This can also deal with small businesses. So what I see you really doing here, Aries, with all this career stuff and then the 3rd house, I see you possibly getting very innovative or really using technology for business, possibly even some kind of being some kind of entrepreneur, freelance worker, something along those lines, whether you're doing it on the side or whether you end up that ends up being part of your career path somehow. That is basically what I see for you. I see that you will possibly be working with technology and really using technology, the internet, whatever, to really work or etc. You could also start learning something. You could start taking a course or just really expanding your education this year. But I really feel that this is going to really help you I feel like that Mars in your sign, plus with the nodes switching, I feel like this is really helping you kind of get more and better aligned with who you are and understanding yourself better and how you express yourself to the world and how you express yourself locally. You could see some changes going on in your local environment, your neighborhood. Maybe you end up moving in 2020 as well. That could be a possibility. And then also with the South Node in Sagittarius, you are getting rid of old belief systems, old morals, old values that are just no longer aligned with who you are as a person anymore. And you're not thinking, so this is really going to have you be a little bit more toned down with your opinions and what you think about everything, and just being really stuck on your own opinions and your own personal biases. That Gemini North Node energy in your 3rd house is going to have you consider all opinions and all facts. It is going to have you be a little bit more factual, a little bit more logical, and a little bit less I guess, in this higher form of thinking and basically, just believing something and saying something because you believe it. It's really more about being a little bit more factual and checking your facts and having proof and things like that. So that's kind of where that energy, I feel, is really going to lead you guys. So around March 21st until July 1st, so from the end of March until the beginning of July, Saturn is going to step foot in Aquarius finally from Capricorn. It's been in Capricorn, your career sector, for the last 3 years, I believe, at this point. And so once it steps into Aquarius, it's going to be stepping into your 11th house if you're an Aries rising. And so once this happens, it's really going to start redefining your views on friends and your views on connections. Now, it is only going to step in for a few months, like I said, until July 1st, until it retrogrades back into Capricorn to see if you've learned the lesson that you needed to learn when it comes to career and achievement, your goals in life, and your life purpose. If you're truly ready to start building a whole new life, and if you're truly ready to commit for it and lay down the bricks for it and basically take responsibility for your life. And so it's going to come back into Capricorn until the end of 2020, and then it's going to step in with Jupiter at the very end of 2020, which will start the new age. While Saturn is in Aquarius from March to July, it's going to show you a preview of what it's going to do for you in that sector of your chart. For the next 2 to 3 years, Saturn takes about 2 to 3 years to go through a sign. So for the next 2 to 3 years, it's showing you a preview of what's going to come. And like I said, this area of your chart has to do with friends, groups of people, humanity, and self-realization, and also those achievements that you are really trying to make in the 10th house. This is where you kind of receive those awards in the 11th house. So Saturn is going to redefine how you view your friends, how you view society, and really going to teach you how to be responsible in those areas. So it's really important for you to pay attention around those times to see exactly how it's going to affect you and see the preview for what's going to come. from in those areas. So if you do the work and all of that, you will see the payoff in that 11th house with Saturn, especially when it comes in with Jupiter at the end of 2020. So yeah, Aries, that is basically the biggest themes that I see for you in 2020. Make sure you pay attention to that Mars transit that you will be dealing with in your sign, which, like I said, happens around June 27th, depending on where you are in the world. But once Mars gets into your first house, you're going to be feeling that amplifying energy and just ready to make changes, ready to do what you need to do, and ready to assert yourself. But once it squares Saturn, it's going to make it a little bit difficult. So, you know, from the end of June until probably around, you know, November 2020, you may kind of feel like you're just hitting brick walls, like everything you try to do is just kind of like, you know, and this is because you have to take the right approach to it. Saturn is forcing you to slow down and do things the right way and only put your energy into things that are going to be worth it and that are going to give you a strong, solid foundation that you can build upon with it, like in the end, basically. So yeah, that is basically what I'm seeing for the sign of Aries for 2020. Let's go ahead and move on to the next sign, which is Taurus. What's going on, Taurus? And welcome to your 2020 predictions for this coming year, and let's go ahead and get into it. So basically, all of 2019, you were learning about how to really let go of any kind of limiting beliefs that you have. You are really learning about what limiting beliefs that you have, what rigid beliefs that you have, any biases that you have, and really just your opinions on things and how you think about things and why those things need to change. So you've been really transforming when it comes to your belief systems and why you believe the things that you believe. And you've been really learning how to express your emotions more, how to make your emotions a part of who you are, and how to really talk about how you feel, how to really communicate about how you feel, and how to feel a little bit more at home when it comes to your environments and your local environments and your comfort zones. Honestly, you've been really examining your comfort zones and having to let go of any old, rigid, restrictive comfort zones that just were no longer aligned with you or your life or who you are, in order to find comfort zones around you that really felt like home, that you could really trust and that you could really unwind and just be yourself in. So that theme is going to carry on for a little bit in 2020, probably like the first almost half of the year. You are going to still be really examining how to feel comfortable and how to communicate when you're not comfortable or when you are comfortable, really how to communicate your emotions and feel at home within your emotions and how to really express your emotions. And also, it could have been bringing up things from childhood, things from your early learning days, like basically like anything that you learned in elementary school or middle school that you really had to examine for some reason, to do shadow work or however you want to put it. It could have also been bringing up connections with your siblings or with distant family that maybe, or distant relatives that maybe you hadn't talked to in a while, in order for you to reconnect with them, because Cancer for you is your third house, and so it's very much so about connection and how you connect with the environment around you, socializing and how you talk and how you think. And basically, Cancer is all about our family, and the third house can deal with siblings and distant relatives. So these are themes that could have been happening for you in 2019, which will continue to probably happen for the first half of 2020. So with Jupiter now in Capricorn in your 9th house, this is really going to show you the bigger picture of beliefs. You're probably being a little bit more practical in what you believe in. You're probably being a little bit more factual about what you feel. So when I say that, I mean like it's no longer about you believing in something just because you were told to believe in that as a child or by your grandparents or your family or your roots or wherever you come from. You are now trusting how you feel about certain things and what other people say. You are learning to trust your intuition about what's going on around you and how it makes you feel, rather than putting so much stock into how you grew up or how other people think you should feel, etc., etc. But with Jupiter in your 9th house, this is going to show you the bigger picture of all of that. This is going to really help you. Possibly you may be studying like traditional things, like where you may be learning where certain traditional things came from, or even where you came from, like your family, your roots, and where all of it originated. That would be something really good to look into around this time, or if you have it already. With Jupiter in Capricorn, this is going to to bring you rewards for the harder you work on learning your education and really just leaving old things behind that are no longer aligned with you, educationally speaking, and really just any kind of beliefs, biases, also legalities could have came up in 2019 or even in 2020. Any legal issues that you've really had to change or get rid of or in some kind of karmic cycle with that just didn't work out, that you just needed to get rid of and get off your plate. So another big theme that I see for you this year, Taurus, is Mars is going to be stepping into the sign right behind yours, which is Aries, around the end of June. So basically, this Mars is going to make some pretty challenging aspects to Saturn and Pluto and all of the stuff going on in Capricorn in your 9th house. So what I feel that this could be like for you guys is you want to be careful with basically hidden enemies. Mars in the 12th house can bring out hidden enemies, hidden forces that are possibly not who they say they are or not who you thought they were, especially when it comes to people in power or people that you view in power, when it comes to people trying to do self-help programs, religion, anything of that nature, educational programs. So you want to be careful who you trust around that time in that area of your life. And also this could bring out some subconscious anger issues that you didn't realize were there, especially when it comes to power and your personal power and what you believe and what you define as power. These themes could definitely come up around that time. So you definitely want to be pretty careful around that time. And one more thing that I want to add really quickly is also Venus is going to be retrograding in Gemini from about May 13th to about June 25th. So around this time, Taurus, Venus is the ruler of your 6th house, which is Libra, and the ruler of your sign as well. And it's going to be retrograding in your 2nd house of Gemini. And what I feel like this means for you is you want to be very careful with your money around this time, because basically you could lose out on some money, especially if you're an entrepreneur or you run a small business or something along those lines, or you just run a business, whatever. It doesn't have to be small, I guess. But basically, if you do any of those things, you could definitely feel like there's something going on with your money. Either maybe there's like a low drop in sales or somehow lose out on money around that time. So if you do sell services or products or something, maybe like try to not around that time if you can. Obviously, like, life does have to go on, and I get it. I just want to like let you guys know to be a little bit wary with your money and try not to overspend, or maybe try to save money before then if you can. That way, if it does come up, you don't have to really, worry about it if something does kind of happen that happens out of nowhere. Or if you're just working a regular job as well, you could see something happen with your income or money. So you just want to be careful. Any Venus retrograde, you don't want to take any big risk in money. But yeah, that's kind of something I wanted to say, just because you're ruled by Venus as well. So the Venus retrograde is definitely something for you to pay attention to this year. So the next big thing that I want to talk about for you guys is the Gemini and Sagittarius nodal axis that we will be going through this year. So around May 5th, the North Node, sorry guys, every time I start filming, my nose starts going crazy. I think it's like a nervous tick or something. But so the North Node is going to move out of Cancer and into Gemini, and the South Node is going to move out of Capricorn and into Sagittarius. So the last time that we had this nodal axis, I believe, was 2001. Okay, so if you want to think back around to that time, obviously if you weren't too young to remember, that's the last time that we had this the nodes in Sag and Gemini. So you want to think about the main themes that happened to you around that time and what they kind of played out like, because that may give you a clue as to how it's going to play out again. But basically, with the North Node in Gemini, this is going to be in your 2nd house of income, money, your values, your worth. And so what you may experience with the South Node in Sagittarius, which is going to be your 8th house, you may experience some kind of change in your financial situation. And like I said, this is going to happen around May 5th, and the Venus retrograde is going to happen around May 13th. So around this time this year, basically, I see something changing in your financial situation. Now, there may be a new financial income added, maybe a new source of income that you do or that you create, but this, whatever happens, is really helping you to change your financial situation. So this is going to, you may be focused on paying off any debt, paying off anything that you owe around this time, or just moving forward in 2020 basically, because the nodes are going to be there for the next 18 months after that. It takes them 18 months to go through a sign and they move backwards. So this is where we're going to have the eclipses as well for the next 18 months after that. So the eclipses are going to really be focusing on your financial income and your worth. Are you making what you're worth? Okay. And what debts need to be paid off? What do you need to end in order for you to have your own financial income? This is really kind of pushing you away from depending on other people or taking any big chances or dealing with any risk, especially to do with other people's money, because the 8th house rules other people's resources and other people's money. So this is really going to push you away from that and push you towards thinking for yourself and dealing with your own money and dealing with your own resources and generating your own resources and income for yourself in some way, shape, or form. So I really do see that for you guys as well in 2020. So the last big thing that I want to talk to you guys about, Taurus, is Saturn moving into Aquarius this year. It's going to step into Aquarius for a few months, then retrograde back into Capricorn. And what this means is Saturn is going to be stepping into your 10th house of career goals, your life achievements, what you want to achieve in this lifetime, your legacy, what you want to leave behind, what you're working towards, and all kinds of stuff like that. So basically, when Saturn steps into Aquarius, which is going to be around March 21st to July 1st, before it retrogrades back into Capricorn, you are really going to experience this need to get disciplined. Whether something happens in your life or what the case may be, a series of circumstances will force you into really thinking about the long term and really working hard on your goals and really being more practical and more disciplined about your goals. This is really going to, Aquarius being your 10th house, maybe you will start having some kind of like goal to help humanity in some way with your life's work. Maybe you will have some kind of goal to, work within a group of people or do some kind of career choice within a group of people or with a group of people. But Saturn here can either help you get into some authority position or buckle down your career. So basically, if you are not on the right career path for your life's path, Saturn will help you get there. Saturn will basically restrict anything that needs to be restricted. It will help you define your career, define your life path. So when Saturn steps into Aquarius on March 21st, you are going to see the preview from March to July of what the next few years will be like while Saturn is going through your 10th house of career. So, and I will warn you guys, like I said, I'm not all love and light. So I will warn you guys, it is going to force you to work hard if you want to achieve. Saturn is all about working hard, doing what it has to do to achieve what it wants. It is about being strict and disciplined and practical. And so, but in the sign of Aquarius, it's a little different than it is in the sign of Capricorn. It's a little bit more about, redefining the rules and the regulations. And so maybe you will want to do something in the career that helps you speak out against something or do something in a different way somehow. Take something that already was and change it into something different, do something different with it. You could definitely find yourself this year, Taurus, working with technology, working in some kind of technical field for sure. I definitely could see that happening for you guys because all of your work houses, so your 6th house, your 2nd house, which is your moneymaker, and your 10th house are all in air signs. So you're definitely doing something with technology, communication, and getting the word out there about something, or just dealing with technology or innovation in some way in 2020. So that is what I see for you guys, mainly for Taurus. Hopefully that is helpful. Definitely let me know down below if any of this is already resonating. And yeah, we're gonna move on to Gemini. What is going on, Gemini, and welcome to your 2020 predictions. I hope you guys are doing well. So 2020 is a big ass year for you, Gemini. So I hope you're ready. As you guys know, I'm so biased for my Geminis. I love my Geminis. So anyways, let's talk about it, Gemini. So basically in 2020, let's back up a little bit. In 2019, you were learning a lot about your self-worth. You were learning a lot about how to trust your intuition, how to trust yourself, how to really feel at home within yourself and how to let your emotions be a part of you. If you are a Gemini rising, which like I said, your rising sign is going to resonate the best for these. But if you are a Gemini rising, you are a very powerful person. Why? Because the way that your chart is set up, the signs that you have in your houses. So basically you have Capricorn in the 8th house. Capricorn can be a dark sign. The 8th house can be dark. So this speaks to somebody that has very traditional rooted occult knowledge just within their energetic makeup. And this speaks to someone that is basically their gifts and their talents have to do with feeling and intuition. So the 2nd house of Cancer, most intuitive sign ruled by the moon, is in your 2nd house of your gifts and your talents. So Gemini risings are very, very powerful people in my opinion already. I feel like you guys are basically like psychic, you know, and whether you realize it or not, you guys have a lot of really alchemical gifts that I admire and I think is really cool. And you have Scorpio in your 6th house. So, you know, your work is definitely going to be something transformational. It's going to be something different. You know, every day needs to be like it's like a transformational phoenix rising process every single day, you know, like dying and being reborn like every single day. And so you may work with, you know, those kind of energies, those kind of themes when it comes to your everyday work or what you want to do for your career, etc., etc. So anyways, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into your 2020 predictions. So Jupiter has now joined Saturn and Pluto in your 8th house of Capricorn Gemini. And so this has been really bringing up a lot of old, deep-rooted karmic cycles and traumas that have really needed to be released from your life. You can think of the 8th house as like your basement, okay? So it's literally dark, it's got all kinds of old things down there with dust all over them, and so you've been having to explore that basement in order to get the old out to bring in the new, right? And so maybe there's been a lot of different psychological things that you've had to deal with in 2019, a lot of mental health stuff that you may have had to deal with in 2019 that has really had an effect on you in order for you to grow. You've went through some really challenging times, some challenging hardships, also within your intimate relationships as well. You've had a lot of lessons in your intimate relationships in 2019 and probably even the last couple years, to be all the way real with you. But moving into 2020, you may still feel that energy a little bit for the first few months, I will tell you, but you're really moving into that Cancerian North Node since we are wrapping up that transit of the North Node in Cancer, South Node in Capricorn. So you've been really letting go of any old history that you don't need to hang on to anymore, any old issues that you don't need to hang on to anymore, any old debt that you don't need to hang on to anymore. I can really see you guys in 2020 working with something different. So I don't know if some of you guys are possibly thinking about changing careers or anything like that. Not that I really see that for you, but I really do intuitively feel like if you're a Gemini rising, depending on your other planets obviously, but I really feel that I could really see you guys changing careers for whatever reason intuitively. And now that I think about it, Jupiter in Capricorn, Jupiter does rule your 10th house. So some of you guys may end up kind of finding your life path in 2020, and it's going to be something different. It's not going to be something that like either people would expect or that a lot of people are into. It could be, you know, because the 8th house deals with our morality. It deals with like the harsh reality that we all die, and you guys kind of have that in your energetic makeup. You're not trying to really bullshit anyone, you know, like 8th house Capricorn has that in their energetic makeup. Like they know that, you know, we're all gonna die, and they're not trying to like escape it and not face it or anything like that. So maybe you end up working with something like that in 2020 as well. But you're really moving into this 2nd house Cancer, which is more about valuing your emotions and valuing your home, your family, and looking at what you value and what you put worth into. What are certain things worth to you? Also your possessions, and being more sentimental about your possessions. But the reason why this year is such a big year for you, Gemini, is because the node is going to move into your sign. So it's going to be in your 1st house if you are a Gemini rising, okay? And so the node in your 1st house is really going to help you find you, who you are, what you want, and what like basically what you identify as. This is really going to show you exactly who you are, exactly what you want to do with your life. The attention is going to be focused on you for everybody, and that is what you are going to notice. But the part about this is the South Node is going to be in your opposite sign of Sagittarius across the sky from you. And so what this means is that any relationships that are keeping you back from who you really are probably going to get swept away, to be 100% real with you. Relationships that are just not aligned with your purpose are going to get swept away. You're going to end karmic cycles to do with relationships, and it doesn't just have to be romantic, it can be business as well. If your relationship is perfectly okay, don't worry about this too much, because it really does depend on your actual placements in your chart and all of that as well. But you will find that relationships just, you're being more pushed towards you. You're being pushed to focus on you, not relationships. So if you are dependent too much on relationships, or you are too focused on relationships for whatever reason, the energy is going to push you to look at you. It's going to push you in the other way. This is also going to be about not always considering the opinions of others, really looking at your own opinions. What do you think about situations? Not trying to figure out what other people think about situations. Like, yeah, it's about listening to other people, but it's also about listening to yourself. And that's really what I think this Cancer North Node in your second house is really preparing you guys for anyway. It's also about learning who you are by observing others. So letting others mirror who you truly are, and letting other people teach you about yourself. Now, you could also find that you are spending more time with people, or those like your community, like in your local environment, that you are maybe doing something in your local environment, or speaking out about something in your local environment. You could find that you are hanging out with people in your environment or in your neighborhood. You could also find that you're connecting with more and more people through technology around that time as well. So yeah, when the nodes switch into your sign, this is really going to be about exploring yourself, seeing what all is out there in the world, becoming curious about your place in the world, and exploring all your different options. I really feel like that's what 2020 is going to be about for you guys. Once the nodes switch halfway through the year, you're going to be really exploring your different options to see why it is that you are in this world and what your place is in this world. You're going to be more concerned about facts rather than just what other people say to be true, or what other people believe. It's not going to really be so much about like people's beliefs. It's going to be about, what do you think about the situation, and what are the facts in the situation, and what do you think about you, and letting other people, like not letting other people, but learning who you are from other people. Basically, other people are going to teach you about yourself. So yeah, this is going to be about not limiting yourself to one path, and really learning from your experiences, and also letting go of any old beliefs that you have about relationships that have been holding you back. You could also find that you are a little bit wishy-washy with your physical appearance, like maybe you're changing your physical appearance a lot, or you just kind of want to look different on a day-to-day basis, which is totally fine. You need to let yourself explore all the options in 2020. Don't hold yourself back. Don't limit yourself to one path. Let the experiences teach you, and learn about yourself through the experiences. Look at everything, look at the universe like it's a dating app, okay? And let every experience or date that you have, look at it as like it's teaching you about you. You know what I mean? That way you don't get too wrapped up in that South Node energy, and you can kind of move forward with that North Node energy, which is going to happen regardless. So yeah, once the node moves into your sign, this is really going to teach you about yourself. This is really going to put you on front and center stage, and help you to get more curious about who you really are, and why you do the things you do, why you look the way you look, and not having to commit, really. This is about leaving kind of commitment alone, and really letting yourself explore who you are and what paths that you want to take, and not have to stick to one path. So the next big thing is Saturn is going to move into Aquarius, your fellow air sign. So that is a trine to you guys. And Aquarius is your 9th house. So, Saturn is going to show you a preview from like March 21st until the beginning of July of what the next few years are going to be like for you when it moves into your 9th house, because it's going to really show you your beliefs, because the 9th house is all about your beliefs. And so basically, once it moves into your 9th house, this is going going to really show you how to define your beliefs. It's going to show you what beliefs that you want to commit to, and it's going to help you get rid of any beliefs that are no longer aligned with who you are, which I think is really going to complement that node in your first house. It's going to get rid of other people's opinions about beliefs so you can really truly stand on your own and find your own. So another big thing that is happening for you, Gemini, is Venus is going to be retrograde in your sign. This is going to start around May 13th and end around June 21st, okay? Or I'm sorry, June 25th. So when Venus moves into your sign, this will possibly be around the time that maybe you're thinking about changing your appearance. Maybe you are thinking about doing something different to your physical appearance, to your hair, how you dress, your aesthetic, your vibe, or even like your home or something, or the kind of car that you drive, or just your whole aesthetic, your whole vibe. And I will tell you that it is a good time to think about it, but actually changing it, probably not the best time around that time, just because Venus is retrograde. So it's kind of like a Mercury retrograde. You don't want to like make any big decisions because you could end up regretting them. So if you really think that, like, say you want to change your hair, maybe do it to something that's not going to be that hard to fix if you end up regretting it, or if you end up wanting to change it again. But you guys are Gemini, so everything's changing for you guys constantly, so it may not even be a big deal anyway, you know? So, but just kind of keep that in mind around that time. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, Gemini, is Mars is going to move into Aries around June 27th, and it's going to be in there for almost the rest of the year. And this is going to be making a hard aspect to all that stuff in your 8th house in Capricorn. And so how this could end up playing out basically is that you could have a lot of issues with friends around this time, okay? Or just social circles, groups. There could be some conflicts in groups or with friends, or something along those lines, where maybe a friend wants to borrow money from you but ends up putting you in debt somehow, or just something, okay? Or you and a friend, or you try to borrow money from a friend, and it just doesn't look good. So you want to be careful about this. This is really happening to teach you, once again, your worth, to teach you what things are worth it, what things aren't, where you should put value, where you shouldn't. So really be careful. And like I said, Mars is going to be in Aries from June 27th until around like November 2020. So almost like half the year basically. And it's just going to retrograde there, and it's going to square everything. So this is going to be a time for the last 6 months of the year where you're really focused on who's in your circle and who's not. And there's going to be a lot of transformation within friends and your friend groups, and basically your goals and what you want to do in the world, because that's also what this place of your chart rules for you, other than friends, is like what you want to do in the world. You may be really determined to do something, to get out there, to, you know, put something out there, to do something in the world, but there may be some restrictions when it comes to debt or resources or financial matters that are really holding you back, or even some kind of power struggle or authority figure that is really holding you back. So you do want to be very careful around that time with that. That is basically what I am getting for you guys, Gemini. Hopefully this was helpful. Definitely let me know down below if any of this already resonated. Make sure to save this video so you can come back to it later on in the year, or whenever you want during the year, to see what's going on. And we are going to move on to Cancer. Well, what is going on, Cancer? Welcome to your 2020 predictions. These are the biggest themes that I see happening for you guys in the year of 2020. Basically, Cancer, 2020 for you guys is definitely an interesting year, because 2019, the focus has been all on you guys because the North Node was in your sign, and we've been having eclipses in your sign and your opposite sign of Capricorn. So for the past couple years, relationships have been a really big deal, because a lot of old karmic cycles and issues with relationships have been getting swept away. Whatever was no longer aligned with you and your life path and your journey, relationship-wise or commitment-wise, especially any significant relationships that you have, or any business partnerships that you have, all of that stuff was really getting swept away and turned over and just let go of. And that was because the North Node is in your sign. So the focus has been on you, who you really are. So anything that was swept away or any people that were swept out of your life, this was really to show you who you really are and to help you evolve and grow and find your power as a person and find your beauty and your power within yourself and how you look, and to find that home within yourself, to find that comfort within who you are, how you appear to others, how others perceive you. So any relationships that were not helping you do that were getting swept away. So you've dealt with a lot, I'm sure, in 2019, possibly even the last few years, since Saturn's also been in your relationship sector. But I feel like once the nodes switch out of your sign, which is going to happen in the summer this year, it's going to ease that pressure on you guys a little bit, which is going to be good. Let's talk about that. So once the nodes switch from your sign to Gemini and Sagittarius, basically what is going to happen here is you may find that you go through some changes regarding your habits in life, regarding your health. You may find that you are a little bit more inclined to be alone, to do your own thing, to kind of learn some things by yourself, if that makes sense, almost to do like some kind of hidden research or really get into possibly spirituality or spiritual healing, because we're going to be dealing with that 12th house energy, which is very much so about kind of isolating, but it's also about healing. Okay, so anything that it brings up, it may bring up things from the past for you to deal with. It may bring up bad habits. It may bring up any health issues that need to change. This is all happening in order for you to clear out the past to make way for the future. Okay, so I just went through my 12th house. I've been going through my 12th house nodal transit because you guys are my 12th house Cancers. My 12th house in 2019 personally for me has been the most healing year of my life. Now this is obviously going to be different. We don't all have the same chart, so it may affect you a little bit differently, so just remember that these are just general horoscopes, but you know, it can be healing depending on how you deal with it. Because the 12th house can also rule escapism. So you may find that you really want to escape things through your mind, okay? Through maybe learning things or somehow in your mind, like escaping things with your mind mentally somehow. This is going to be a major time where you do need to deal with any mental health stuff. That's what's really going to come. It's going to help you face any issues that you may have had with your mental health in the past, or that you may currently have with your mental health, in order for you to heal. And the best way you can really deal with this energy is really finding alternative healing styles, alternative healing modalities like holistic healing, shamans, things like that. So you may start experimenting around with a lot of different healing modalities, a lot of different healing methods, okay? But you do want to be careful just with that escapism energy, that you're not resorting to anything like drugs to shut your mind off, since Gemini, which rules the mind, and the 12th house, which rules escapism. So you really want to make sure that you're dealing with it in a healthy way, obviously. And so yeah, I do just want to give you that little disclaimer really quick in case you've ever had a past with addiction or anything like that. So the next big thing I want to talk about is, you know, Saturn moving into Aquarius. So this is going to happen from March 21st until July 1st. And once it moves into Aquarius, it's finally going to move out of your 7th house of relationships. So it's going to stop torturing you in the relationship department, but it is going to move into your 8th house, okay? Which can deal with also relationships. It can deal with your more intimate connections with people and relationships. It can also deal with the more intimate and challenging aspects of life, like death, rebirth, transformation. It doesn't always mean like actual physical death, but it is a house where we think about mortality. It shows us our mortality. So it may be a good time to really, Saturn in your 8th is going to really help you find connections to deal with any psychological issues, because Saturn and in the 8th, it can be, the 8th house can be psychological things that come up as well. So it can be a great time to, you know, like I was kind of saying before with that North Node in your 12th house, deal with any psychological issues, address childhood trauma, deal with anything from the past that you need to heal from. This is going to be a great year for that if you are ready, if you can face it, if you can face your shadow, okay? But Saturn in the 8th, may make it a little bit hard for you in the intimacy department, or even with business partnerships, or even with like debt. You may have to work really hard to pay off your debt, but it's going to help you do it in the right way. Okay, so that is the good thing here with Saturn in the 8th house. And with Aquarius being your 8th house, it's going to give you the right connections that are going to help you make it worth it, connections that are going to hold you accountable and make you responsible to do the things that you need to do when it comes to the 8th house themes that I've already mentioned. So from March 21st to July 1st, Saturn is going to give you a sneak preview of what it's going to be like in the sign of Aquarius for the next few years. Remember, it's going to retrograde back to Capricorn, your 7th house, to make sure you learned all the lessons it's taught you the last few years in relationships, but then it's going to move back into Aquarius by the end of 2020. So it's going to move in March, out July, and then back in at the end of 2020. And when it moves back in, it's going to move in with Jupiter, which is going to be amazing. Okay, so when Jupiter moves in with Saturn at the end of 2020, any hard work that you've been doing in the 7th house, or in the 8th house, when Saturn moves in there the first time but then moves back, you will find the reward for it. You will be paid off for it with Jupiter there. And with Jupiter in your 7th house, this is going to help you find wisdom in all of the issues and trials and challenges that you've faced with relationships. Okay, it's going to give you a higher wisdom from those issues. It's going to teach you how you can, expand your mind and look at the higher perspective. It's going to really give you the benefit. So all the hard work that you've done on yourself and with your relationships, you've been reconstructing that area of your life. Jupiter is going to reward you here for that. Okay, so that is another good thing about this as well. So I don't want you guys to feel like it's all bad, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you kind of what I see for you guys in 2020. What's up, Cancer? So something else I forgot to mention for you guys was that Jupiter in your 7th house could also bring you people into your life that are really wise, or that teach you something, that help you learn and understand a different side of something. So that is another benefit to having Jupiter in your 7th house throughout 2020. So yeah, I definitely could see some of you guys possibly moving far away, honestly, for some of you in 2020, or just even like taking a trip to get away with Gemini in your 12th house. Like you may definitely want to go on a retreat. It would be a great time to do that in 2020. And then also the ruler of your 4th, Venus, is going to be retrograde in Gemini from May 13th to June 25th. And Gemini, once again, is your 12th house. So Venus retrograding here is really going to help you get uber creative. Like you're going to be super creative, but it's also going to show you possibly any subconscious patterns that you have with relationships. And that Gemini North node anyway, once the node moves into Gemini and we start having eclipses in Sag and Gemini, those eclipses are really going to show you your subconscious patterns, okay? The patterns in your mind that you easily can fall into that may be limiting you, that you need to set free, okay? Venus could really show you that here as well. Venus could kind of bring things to light with Gemini in the sign of Gemini in your 12th house. You could be addressing something from the past, addressing relationships from the past. And I really feel like this is going to be kind of like the real end all be all for you guys dealing with any karmic relationship stuff. So that's another good thing with this as well. And then Mars is going to be in Aries for like the last half of the year, from like June to like November, basically, because it's going to retrograde there, and Mars rules Aries, so this is like a huge deal. When Mars is in Aries, Aries is your let's see, Gemini 12, so Aries is your 10th house. So this could indicate some issues when it comes to career and when it comes to your relationships, because that Mars energy is going to really be challenging the stuff going on in Capricorn in your field of relationships, significant relationships. So there might be some issues with contracts the last 6 months of the year when it comes to career, when it comes to life goals, when it comes to your purpose. There may be a shift in relationships that somehow affects your career or your life path or your life purpose. There may be some power struggles or some issues with authority figures as well around that time, the last 6 months of the year. Basically, you want to be careful who you align with, especially in business or with business partnerships, or even if you like have your own business somehow, or you are trying to sell things, or you're dealing with other people's money or other people's resources or finances, you want to be careful around this time, especially with people in power, especially with business relationships, because with that Mars making that aspect to Saturn, you could end up doing something that could backfire somehow, or you could be really motivated to do something in your career, could change something in your career, but that Saturn energy is slowing you down. So you could feel like your relationship life is slowing you down in some way, or your financial life is slowing you down in some way the last 6 months of the year. So you do want to be careful of those situations. So those are the main things that I see for you, Cancer. So I think the biggest themes of 2020 for you are going to be, once we get into like the summertime, it's going to really start being about healing for you. And so in order to heal, sometimes we do have to face things that we've put off for a long time, or that we've kind of put in the back of our minds for a long time. So there may be some things that come to the surface, some habits, some patterns, some thought patterns or beliefs that are limiting you in order, but they're coming up in order for you to face so you can heal. And I remember like at first, like things would come up and I would get scared and I would feel myself wanting to go to my old escape mechanisms or my old defense mechanisms, but eventually I just gave in and I really like faced it, and I found alternative ways to heal, and I started really getting into shadow work and exploring different healing remedies. And so I really feel like that's what's going to happen with you guys. It's going to really help you heal your mind most of all, and really let go of anything that is limiting your mind, letting go of anything that is limiting your mind to the point where it could be affecting your day-to-day life and your day-to-day routines and your work life. And you could find that there is some issues within your work life or your job this year in order for you to really find your true purpose and what you truly want to do. So I feel like that could come up for you guys as well. So definitely let me know down below if you could see any of this resonating as of now. And I love you, Cancer. We're going to move on to Leo. What is going on, Leo? And welcome to your 2020 predictions. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. So Leo, first things first, you guys have been, I'm a Leo rising, we have been dealing with a lot when it comes to our health, our daily routines, our workplace, our work environment, and if you want to own business, your employees, your staff, things of that nature. And Saturn in our 6th house has really been forcing us to buckle down, be responsible, grow up, and do the adult thing, right? And so now that we have Jupiter in the 6th house, this is really going to help us expand our different ways that we do things. So it's going to teach us how to focus on our health, and it's going to expand the areas that we aren't focused on, the areas that maybe we've put off or we didn't want to take responsibility for. Jupiter is not Santa Claus like a lot of people think. It's going to bring up the areas that you've been putting off. So if you've been putting off doing stuff to your teeth or getting your teeth checked out, whatever, because Capricorn does rule teeth and the bones, maybe you get a cavity or maybe you get an abscess or whatever, and now you have to go get that straightened out, you know what I mean? So Jupiter is going to make that stuff where you've been putting off come up to the surface so you can deal with it. And Jupiter's, because it is a benefic planet, but it is in its fall position, it's going to basically reward us for the hard work. And I really kind of feel like, the more we put in work, the more responsible we are, the more committed we are, in our work life. And not just like workaholics, because Capricorn in the 6th can make us workaholics, and the North Node has been in the 12th, which is like, take a break sometime, like go relax sometime, like you need to work on healing your past, healing your emotions. Like it's not all about work, work, work. It's really been about finding that balance in between being responsible and working, but also being able to heal and being able to deal with, our sleep and sleep schedules and having a decent sleep schedule and, just finding the balance between rest and work, basically. You get what I'm saying? And also with Saturn in the 6th house, something that's kind of come to me recently is you could find that you have a business partner or you get a business partner in 2020, because Saturn will be moving into our 7th house, which we'll talk about in a minute. Or you could be working with somebody that you're in a relationship with. So if you are in a relationship, maybe you guys are thinking about running your own business or doing something together, your day-to-day work stuff could involve your partner in some way, shape, or form, or a business partner. Now it won't be true for all of you. Obviously, it depends on your own personal chart as well, but I do see that for a lot of Leos. Anyway, so that's what we've been kind of dealing with already. And so the first few months of 2020 may feel that way. It may kind of carry that same energy because not a lot's really, you know, going down for real until like halfway through the year. Saturn is going to move out of Capricorn, our 6th house, and into basically our 7th house of relationships around March 21st until July 1st. July 1st, it's going to retrograde out of our 7th house and back into our 6th house. So basically it's only going to be in our 7th house for a few months, and then it's going to move back into our 7th house towards the end of the year. So from March 21st to July 1st, you will see a preview of what the next few years of your life are going to be about and what Saturn is going to teach you in the 7th house. This is going to be a big deal. When Saturn moves into our 7th house, any relationships that are not going to stand the test of time will fall away. Okay, Leo, I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm going to be straight up with you guys. Saturn is the no bullshit planet, okay? It's considered a malefic planet. It restricts things, okay? So anything that cannot handle being restricted, anything that cannot handle being defined or committed to, or that anything that cannot handle responsibility and structure is going to slip away, which you shouldn't want anyway. But honestly, I feel that with Saturn in the 7th house, for a lot of Leos for the next few years, I feel like a lot of Leos will probably get married because Saturn in the 7th house is going to really show us, you know, what is worth it. It's going to show us relationships that are worth it. We're only going to get into relationships that are worth it and that are going to stand the test of time. It's going to help us grow up when it comes to relationships. It's going to help us be more responsible and be more accountable when it comes to relationships. So we're only going to want relationships that are mature. So you may find that for the next few years, starting at the end of 2020 or even in the middle of 2020 when Saturn first moves in, that you are wanting to be with more mature people, maybe people that are a little bit older, or maybe people that are wise, you know what I mean, that have wisdom, that have experience, that work hard, people that are wanting to make a difference in the collective, people that are very disciplined, and also that are maybe a little bit rebellious with that Aquarian energy, or that have a lot of friends, or that want to help people, want to help the collective in some way. You're going to want somebody that you can kind of be around, that you can kind of be a friend with, not just like a significant other with, that you can kind of be a best friend with, especially if you're a Leo rising. This may not relate as much if you're a Leo sun, but if you're a Leo rising, you're going to want somebody that you can kind of keep around for the long haul, that you can be good friends with, not just like, you know, in a relationship with. So basically that's what I see relationship wise with this Saturn and Pluto stuff. And also you may find that for work you guys are doing something that's going to help the collective, help the masses, help groups of people, or like I said, you may actually make some significant relationships from work, or you may bring a relationship into your work, or work into a relationship in some way, shape, or form like that. And, we already talked about Jupiter and Capricorn. So the Gemini North Node. So the North Node is going to move out of Cancer and into Gemini, which means the South Node is going to be in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is our 5th house, and Gemini is our 11th house. So what I think this means for us as Leos is Gemini is going to show us what it is that we want, out in the world. The 11th house is all about friends, and with Gemini here, you know, it's going to be a lot about connection, making connections with people, and also with that Sag South Node in the 5th house, it's going to be about kind of like leaving behind your own interest, or taking your own interest and putting them out into the world, like sharing them with other people. So the focus is very much so going to be around friends, social circles, rewards, gaining rewards, your connections, collaborations, the groups that you're a part of. It's going to be a very social year, I feel, for Leos, so that's good, I feel. But yeah, it's really going to be about your connections and who you know, and you know, it's going to be about being okay with connections that maybe don't last, or fleeting connections, like connections through acquaintances and all of that. So the next big thing that's going to happen is the Mars and Aries. It's going to be in Aries for like 6 months, and it's going to retrograde in Aries, and it's going to be making some hard aspects to all of that stuff in Capricorn. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal coming from someone that has Mars square Saturn in my chart. It is not fun. It is the energy of wanting to really go, 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 but it's like you're just hitting walls, you know, like Saturn is always stopping you and making you think and do it the right way, and you know, or else you face the consequences. And Aries is our ninth house, so we may feel like, you know, we have some things that we want to do, right? Like we have these things that we want to do. Maybe we want to travel, or we want to expand our education, or we want to get into some kind of, you know, spirituality practice or something along those lines. But it's going to be, or we want to put something out into the world, right? But it's going to be making these aspects to all of that stuff in Capricorn in our 6th house. So you may go through a period, the last half of the year for Leo risings, where you are feeling really uninspired, or you are feeling really just like you just don't have the motivation to do what you have to do in your everyday life or with your work or something along those lines. So you may feel that way, or there may be some kind of like power struggle, or you may be dealing with an authority figure of some kind, or there's some kind of power struggle at your work, something along those lines. Okay, so it's really important to kind of deal with that energy in a way of not trying to rush anything, trying to do things the right way, trying to slow down a little bit, and not trying to, like, there could also be someone at work that just has like a lot of opinions, okay, and they're just like very opinionated, or they're trying to force their opinions onto you in some way, and you could feel a little bit restricted, or a little bit like your opinion doesn't matter, your opinion is being suppressed in some way. So I do see some kind of like challenge around like the last 6 months with that Mars Aries transit, which is going to be challenging like that for everybody, just in different places. So definitely pay attention to that. I think that whatever's happening, it's going to change your outlook on something. It's going to change your beliefs about something, okay? So, which I think in the end is going to be a good thing. So try not to fight it too much. Try not to, you know, just try to work with the energy. You'll know, you'll feel like what you feel is right, and go from there. So yeah, the Venus retrograde in Gemini, which is happening from May 13th to June 25th. So basically, Venus is going to retrograde in Gemini, like I said, and Gemini is our 11th house. So around that time, you know, it's going to be retrograding in our house of friends. So there may be old friends that come back around that time, friends from the past that reappear, that come back around that time. You may kind of rekindle some old connections with friends, acquaintances, etc. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting for you guys. It definitely is going to be a very interesting time. You could even meet somebody, like some kind of connection that links to your career, or that, I don't know, that helps you collaborate in terms of your career. And don't forget, we also have Uranus in the 10th house still in Taurus, and that is our career house. So most Leo risings, I think, are, you know, being pushed in some way, shape, or form, whether this year or within the next few years at least, to be self-employed, to run your own business, to be some kind of entrepreneur or freelance worker, because that's just how Leo rising people kind of work better, okay? So that is what I am getting for Leo. Also, with that Sagittarius South Node in the 5th house of children, fun, entertainment, pleasure, you may find that, you know, you have to resolve something with children, okay, within the next 18 months once the nodes switch. There could be some karmic cycles clearing out to do with children, to do with old hobbies or old pleasures, old ways of dating or romance, old ways of seeking pleasure seeking that maybe wasn't unhealthy, or old risk-taking behavior that was unhealthy. You may be clearing out karmic cycles to do with those things. But yeah, that is basically what I see for Leo. So hopefully that makes sense. Definitely let me know down below if you think you're definitely going to resonate with this. And I love you guys, Leo, and we're going to move on to Virgo. What is going on, Virgo, and welcome to your 2020 predictions. So let's go ahead and get into it. So in 2019, you guys have been learning some major lessons when it comes to romance, your passions, children, and all of those different things that you do for entertainment purposes. Maybe you've gotten a little bit like uninspired or fell away from your passions or had to end old cycles with children or karmic issues to do with ways that you used to find pleasure. Maybe you used to find pleasure in working or achieving things, and for whatever reason that was harder for you to do. And so with Jupiter and Capricorn, this is definitely going to help, you know, reward you in those areas. It's going to help you expand. So maybe you get into something where you start learning something that becomes a new passion of yours and try to turn it into work. But see, with the North Node in Cancer in the 11th house, this is kind of leaving behind that habit of trying to turn a passion into work and really just truly caring about whatever it is that you put out into the world, really learning compassion for other people, learning compassion for other people's issues, learning compassion for your friends, your friend groups, any groups that you belong to, and really having some kind of healing self-realization when it comes to you and your family and where it is that you're going in this life and what it is that you want to do in this life and how it is that you want to help other people and inspire other people. So that's kind of the big things that you have been going through in 2019 and that you will continue to see a theme of in 2020, at least for the first 6 months or so. So around the very beginning of May, the nodes of the moon are going to switch to where the North Node is going to move into Gemini and the South Node is going to move into Sagittarius. And what this means, Virgo, is that your focus, everybody's focus, is going to be on Gemini energy. And for Virgos, this falls in a place for you that is all about career, your public image, what you want to do out in the world, and your goals, your long-term goals and your long-term achievements, your legacy, and your reputation. So you may find that there's a lot of changes and shifts when it comes to your career, or that you have a lot of different options when it comes to your career starting halfway through 2020. You may change your mind a lot, so try not to be too committed to one career path in 2020 because you may change your mind later on with that Gemini mutable air energy. So, and that's completely fine, okay? So don't feel like it's not. You want to go based off facts, based off what logically makes sense and makes you feel good and makes, you know, just makes logical sense to you, because the South Node is going to be in Sagittarius. So it's no longer just about what we believe or our personal truth. It is about what makes logical sense to us, okay? And what feels right mentally at the time. And a lot of people know Gemini can change their minds very easily about things because they change their minds every second because their minds are always considering new information. And so basically you may have a few different career paths in 2020. You may find yourself doing a few different things as your career or wanting to do a few different things as your career path, okay? So that is going to be very interesting for you guys. But with the South Node in Sagittarius in your 4th house, you may find that your focus is a little bit less on family and home and where you feel comfortable internally, and you may be more focused on getting out there in the world and speaking out there in the world or learning something out there in the world. You may be focused on humor and comedy or, you know, lightening people up as part of your path or even part of your career path. You may be focused on technology as part of your career path as well, or communication in any way, shape, or form as part of your career path. But basically with that South Node in Sagittarius, you may start dealing with karmic issues with your family and with your home life. So any unresolved issues from the past, from your childhood, may come up for you to resolve and move past around this time. Any old beliefs, biases, morals, or family values that no longer align with who you are and that you realize just aren't you, that maybe they were taught to you, but they aren't necessarily what you believe. You will have to move past that in the year of 2020 and even in the year of 2021 until the nodes switch out of Gemini and Sag. So basically once the nodes switch around the beginning of May, they will be there for the next 18 months, okay? So they will be there for quite a while. Possibly, I think, even until 2022. I think the beginning of 2022 is when they will move out of Sag and Gemini. There may also be some karmic issues that you're having to let go of in 2020 involving children in the home front, okay? So because the ruler of Sagittarius, which is your 4th house, will be in your 5th house, there may be a higher understanding to do with something to do with your children or something to do with your childhood or your inner child. Maybe some old belief systems about you from your childhood or your children or something. Maybe your children move in 2020 in some way. That could definitely happen as well if you have older children or something along those lines. So also in 2020, Saturn will be moving out of your 5th house just briefly and into your 6th house before it moves back into your 5th house when it retrogrades, and then back into your 6th by the end. So basically, from March 21st to July 1st, Saturn will be in your 6th house of Aquarius in 2020. So around those few months, you will see a preview of what is going to come with Saturn in your 6th house for the next few years, because Saturn does take about 3 years to move through a sign. Okay, so this is going to be a big deal. This is going to be something you need to pay attention to, and I'm sure you guys are writing it down as Virgos. Maybe not, but or making a mental note of it. But yeah, from March 21st till July 1st, Saturn is going to be previewing in the 6th house what it is going to bring for you. Now, I'm going through this right now. Saturn in the 6th house, I can tell you, is not the most fun. Okay, it is going to be a little bit different for you being in Aquarius, but it is going to have you buckle down on your health. Okay, you're going to be very much paying attention to your health. Maybe you switch to more natural or some kind of like different health regime, or some kind of different health system, health diet, or something along those lines. The 6th house also does rule like small pets, so maybe you get a pet, or maybe you have to buckle down on your responsibilities at work somehow. But I definitely see you guys working with technology in the year of 2020, okay? Because this is going to be a big year for that communication and technology, and also like innovation. With Saturn in your 6th house, as it does rule your 6th house. So you could end up doing something that you actually like to do for work on an everyday basis, or bringing in your own talents and creativity into your workplace on a day-to-day basis, okay? So that could be something else as well. There also may be some responsibilities that come up to do with your children with Saturn in the 6th house, but basically the main theme of Saturn in the 6th house is really going to push you to be more disciplined with a health routine, and to not be afraid to change your health routine up and try more unique health routines, and also maybe some kind of unique work that you do on a day-to-day basis, either as a hobby or even as a career. You could even be dealing with other people in your career. And when I say that, I don't just mean like, obviously most careers deal with other people, but you could be dealing with like groups of people or masses of people, whether it's through the internet or just in person. You could be doing something that deals with people or friends as well for your workplace. So Mars is going to enter into your 8th house into 2020, and it's going to transit through your 8th for almost 6 months, because it's going to retrograde here. And what this means is basically, Virgo, is you could find that there may be some issues that come up financially or with your partner's finances around this time, or just some issues that come up with your partner around this time, because the 8th house can rule our intimate relationships, also our business relationships, can also rule debt, and just some of the more hardships that we go through, psychology and things of that nature. So you could find with Mars in your 8th house that there could be some issues with your intimate relationships, or even involving intimacy, psychology. There could even be some issues regarding your children, okay? Some possible legal issues, or issues regarding your children, or child support, alimony, things like that. Divorce, if you've been divorced, or if you're planning on getting a divorce in 2020, I definitely would not do it around the time that Mars transits your 8th house of divorce, because this is going to be a very messy battle, okay, between Mars and all of this stuff in Capricorn. They're both in their ruling signs, and they're both very powerful planets, and they're both considered malefic planets. So when this goes on, it's definitely going to have something to do with the themes I've already named off of, you know, debt, you know, other people's finances, other people's resources. So any shared resources between you and someone else, or if you run a business and deal with other people's money in some way, or if you work at a bank and deal with other people's money, or even just like your children somehow, because that Capricorn energy is in your 5th house of children and pleasure, entertainment, etc. So you could find that there is some kind of conflict with your children going on, where maybe, you know, where there's like conflict with money and children. And so that's why I'm saying child support, or other people's money, partner's money, ex's money, whatever, and children. So definitely make sure that you are watching out around that time, and that you pay attention to into that time frame to see kind of what's going on. But whatever happens with Jupiter there, it's going to help give you a higher perspective. It's going to help you understand things at a different level and help you understand the experience. And also with a Mars square Saturn transit, I have this in my natal chart. So basically what this is you're going to want to be rushing something, or someone is going to be rushing something on you, and you're going to be trying to take your time, or you're going to be forced to take your time. And so there's basically this opposition of wanting to rush something and really like, you know, be very confrontational about something versus wanting to do something the slow, disciplined way, the adult way. Okay, it's almost like a rebellious child with a like arguing with a judge or something. That's kind of how it is. So you really want to make sure that you're like, if it's you trying to rush something, that you try to take it slow. If it's someone else trying to pressure you around this time, then you really want to make sure you think about the long term, that you don't just rush into anything, and that you really kind of like take a deep breath, chill, and just really kind of be very kind of like disciplined about it, and be very mature about it is basically what I'm trying to say here. So you definitely want to watch out for that time, and that's about the last 6 months of the year. The next thing we have is Venus retrograding in Gemini from May 13th till about June 25th. So once again, Gemini is your 10th house. So Venus retrograding here is really going to possibly bring up some things involving your career, your creativity, your relationships, and your career. So, or your relationships within your career, your job, whatever you're doing. So it's going to like reflect on some things from the past, or some conversations that need to be said within relationships within your career. If you have any work relationships or any relationships that are in the public eye for any reason, that is what Venus is going to bring up around this time in kind of like a vague, brief way. And obviously we are going to talk about all of this stuff in more detail along the way as it happens. I just want to keep these brief for now, just to give you a little bit of an overview. And your planet Mercury is going retrograde 3 different times this year, in February, in June, and in October. Okay, so those times you definitely want to pay attention, because you're ruled by Mercury. Your chart is ruled by Mercury if you're a Virgo rising. So those times are definitely, you're going to feel them more. Unless you have Mercury retrograde in your chart already, then you may not feel them as much. Okay, so in February it's going to retrograde in a place for you that's very much about your relationships and your work. It's going to start in your relationship sector and move into your day-to-day routine, health, and work sector. Okay, so there may be a lot of miscommunications in relationships in February, and then once it moves back into your 6th house, there may be a lot of miscommunications or just misconceptions in your workplace, in your work environment, or with your health. Not a great time to see a doctor if you're trying to get an answer about something health related. They may tell you something that's like a misdiagnosis. Trust yourself though. If you got to, you got to. Also, around June, the end of June, it's going to retrograde in Cancer, and Cancer for you guys is your 11th house. So you may find that Mercury retrograding in your 11th house, there may be a lot of miscommunications with friends, groups of people, social circles, any groups that you're a part of. And then it's going to retrograde in October. It's going to start in Scorpio, but then move back into Libra, which is your 3rd and 2nd house. So it's going to start in your 3rd house of self-expression, media, your neighborhood, your local community, your local environment, and then also like your cousins, siblings, and distant relatives. So maybe you hear from a distant relative or a sibling around this time that you hadn't heard from in a while, or you have some issues with media, technology, communication, your local environment, your neighborhood. If you like rent a property, it could be like your landlord, something along those lines. Or if you work with technology or media, there could definitely be a lot of mishaps there. And then once it moves back into Libra, your 2nd house, there could be some miscommunication with money, your income, and things of that nature. So you want to be very careful around those times as a Virgo rising. So that is basically what I have for you guys, Virgo, for 2020. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Definitely let me know down below if you can see any of this stuff happening, or if you already relate to it. And we are going to go ahead and move on to Libra. What's going on, Libra? Welcome to your 2020 predictions, my fellow Libras. I am a Libra sun, but this is going to resonate a lot more if you're a Libra rising, so just keep that in mind. So Libra, for the last year, throughout 2019, and even before that, you guys were dealing with some major reconstruction of your home and your family life and your personal life. You guys were ending some major karmic cycles from your childhood, major karmic cycles with your family dynamics, with your ancestry, with your living situations, your living dynamics, your home dynamics, whether you have a roommate or whether you live with family or whether you are married and have children, or whether you just moved. You've just been really dealing with some major reconstruction of the home, the family, the childhood, and all of the things that I just mentioned. Because the North Node has been in your 10th house of Cancer, so you have been getting pushed to really follow your heart when it comes to your career, when it comes to your life path, when it comes to what you want to do in the world. You've been really getting pushed to be more vulnerable, to show your emotions to the world, to show your emotions to people, and to show who you really are at heart to other people. But in 2020, that is going to change. About halfway through the year, we are going to start seeing a lot of new energy come along when the nodes switch into Gemini and Sagittarius. And basically what this means for you as a Libra is the North Node is going to switch into your 9th house, and the South Node is going to switch into your 3rd house, okay? So this is really going to ask you how to be a little bit more factual about your belief systems, how to be a little bit more logical about what it is that you believe, okay? This is going to really dive deep into your beliefs, into what you view, your views on the world, and into what it is that you practice each day as a belief. If you practice what you preach, for whatever reason, that's kind of coming to me. And what it is that you truly believe when it comes down to it. What are your morals? What are your biases? What do you think of, higher education, religion, spirituality? These are the kinds of questions that are going to start coming to you around the beginning of May 2020, okay? So Gemini is your 9th house, so it's going to be very much so about learning new things, about exploring new things, getting curious, and really looking at all sides to situations, all sides to beliefs, and not just choosing one side because it resonates with you or because other people, think it's cool. It's going to be really about what you think and what makes most sense to you, and getting curious about what other people believe and why, and exploring all sides of that. Now, the South Node is going to be in your 3rd house of Sagittarius, so you will be letting go of old karmic beliefs, old karmic thoughts, and thought patterns, thought cycles, behaviors, and old ways of expressing yourself. Now, the 3rd house also rules media and your local environment and all of that. So this is when I feel like if you've been feeling like you've moved here, there, and everywhere, you've been feeling like you haven't had stable ground for years as a Libra, this is when I feel like it will get more stable, because the South Node will be in that Sagittarian energy in your 3rd house. So it's really going to kind of root you where you are. You're kind of leaving that old mutable fire thinking in the past. Your mind's not going to be all over the place anymore. It's not going to be, bouncing around or constantly listening to other people's opinions or other people's truths. It's going to be really coming from it at a logical standpoint, coming from it from a more factual standpoint, and proving to yourself what it is that you believe and why. And I feel like, because Gemini and Sagittarius rule travel, and so do the 3rd and the 9th house, if you travel, I feel like it's going to be out of leisure and less out of I need to, I have to, or it may just be out of like taking a vacation or seeing the world. That is kind of what I see for you with the nodes. Now, another big thing that is happening is Saturn is finally moving out of Capricorn, your 4th house, and into your 5th house of children, pleasure, entertainment, your hobbies, dating, romance, and things of that nature. So, and also basically your creativity and what your imagination and things like that. So now it's only going to be in your 5th house for a few months, from the end of March till the beginning of July. So it's only going to give you a preview of what's to come for the next few years before it retrogrades back into your 4th house until the end of 2020. So keep that in mind. But Saturn in Aquarius, it's really going to take your focus to how you define yourself creatively and your imagination. You may start really getting serious about being more into the collective and doing things for humanity as a passion or as a hobby, getting creative to help humanity in some way. Also, you may find that maybe you're if you start dating, you may start wanting to date people that are more serious and that are wanting to help the environment or help humanity in some way. You may find that your friends, that you are attracting more mature, level-headed friends or romance partners. If you are a single Libra and looking into dating, you're going to want to date someone that's your friend and that is going to understand your passions, basically, and that is going to be mature about them. Saturn is going to help you define your hobbies and your passions. It may help you get innovative, especially with that North Node in Gemini in the 9th house. I really see you guys possibly being innovative in 2020, inventing something and putting it out into the world in order to kind of change people's minds or help people think about things in some way. That is what Saturn, I feel, is going, those are a few things I feel Saturn is going to really start showing you once it moves into your 5th house of pleasure, dating, romance, and creativity. So Jupiter is also moving through Capricorn, and I'm not going to talk too much about this because I did a whole video on my Patreon that was very detailed for each sign, but Jupiter in your 4th house of Capricorn is really expanding your home life. Okay, so maybe you are going to be learning something from home, or maybe you are going to be learning something about real estate, homes, whatever, or you want to expand your space somehow in some way. You need more space somehow in some way. You just need space within your home life and within your private life, I feel, throughout 2020. That could definitely be a big theme for you. And you could also be bringing some kind of spiritual practice into your home. So maybe you start, maybe you make a meditation room, or you make a room that's just for you to learn about things or to bring education into your home and applying your teachings or your learnings to your personal life in some way. So Venus, your ruling planet, is going to be retrograding in Gemini around May 13th till June 25th. So I feel for you, Libra, this is going to really bring up possibly people from your past. This is going to bring up old relationships from your past for you to understand at a different level, for you to see the higher meaning of why they happened or the higher perspective of why they happened. If you meet anyone new around this time, it's going to be possibly a foreigner or someone that's out of your comfort zone, someone that you're not used to, someone that's very knowledgeable or very logical. And you could also find that you are meeting friends around this time from other places in the world. That could definitely be the case with Venus going through your 9th house. You could also feel very creative and want to express your creativity to the world in some way around this time. There could be old creative projects or hobbies that come back to you that you want to start doing, that you want to start expressing to the world. The 9th house can also deal with publishing, and Gemini is like writing. So some of you guys could be thinking about writing or publishing a book or something along those lines, an article, a blog, or using technology in some way to get your message out there to the world or to get your creativity out there to the world in 2020. So the last big thing that's happening that I want to talk about for you guys is Mars is going to transit through Aries for almost 6 months because it's going to retrograde there. And this is going to be a huge deal for you because Aries is your opposite sign. So it rules your relationship sector, it rules your significant relationships, your commitments, and your agreements, negotiations, and so on. And so with Mars in the 7th house, Mars enters your 7th house around June 27th and doesn't leave until around the end of November. So from June to November, these are not great times to be basically trying to meet new people, dating, getting in any kind of significant relationships. There may be some conflict within your significant relationships. I'm not going to lie to you. This could be very challenging, and this could bring up some power struggles. This could bring up some conflicts. It's not a great time to try to negotiate or try to, come to terms or commit to something around this time, because that Mars energy could have your partner very irritated, on edge, aggravated, angry. It could have them really wanting to rush things or really pressuring you into some things that you really don't want to do, because it's really going to make some harsh aspects to all of that stuff going on in your 4th house. So if you have a significant other or a significant relationship in your family or that you live with involving your home life, this could definitely bring some issues that arise to do around your home, to do around your relationship. Maybe your significant other is like pressuring you to do something that you don't want to do with your home, maybe move or just something, something that could just be an example. But there's definitely some conflict here within when it comes to your relationship life versus your home and family life. Okay, so you definitely want to pay attention those last 6 months of the year, basically the end of June until the end of November, because this could definitely come up for a lot. It's going to affect everybody no matter what sign you are, but it's going to affect everybody differently. And for you, it's going to affect your significant relationships and your home and family life. Okay, so you definitely want to pay attention. Make sure that if someone is pressuring you or someone is rushing you, not to give in to that energy, not to make any quick split decisions. So with Mars there, something could be done that could either receive backlash or that you could regret. So there may be some kind of power struggle within a relationship in your home life or to do with your family or your relationships, like I said before. So you do want to be careful of that. So basically, Libra, that is what I am seeing for you. Of course, we're going to go over all of it in more detail, month to month throughout this year. So make sure that you are keeping up to date with my channel to make sure that you can watch out for that. So let's go ahead and move on to Scorpio. What's up, Scorpio? Welcome to your 2020 predictions. Let's go ahead and see what's going on with you guys for this coming year of 2020. So basically 2019 was all about you really discovering your belief systems, you really feeling what relates to you and what feels like home to you regarding your belief systems, whether it's spirituality, religion, whatever the case may be. And also you learning more about the world, learning more about where you feel safe, where you feel at home, and also dealing with publishing and putting things out to the world that make you feel good about yourself. Now, the South Node has been in your third house of Capricorn. So you've been really redefining and reconstructing the way that you go about situations, the way that you behave in situations, also your local environment and basically your community and just the way that you think about situations, your thought patterns, negative thought patterns, and all of that. You've been really reconstructing and letting go of old karmic cycles to do with those things. You've also been dealing with karmic cycles or letting go of old rigid thinking to do with your siblings, to do with, distant relatives and things of that nature as well. Maybe you've traveled a lot in 2019 because these houses can deal with travel. So moving into 2020, the first couple months may feel a little bit like 2019 to you at first, but then the energy shifts once Saturn moves into Aquarius at the end of March. So from March until June, until the beginning of July, Saturn is going to move into the sign of Aquarius, which for you is your fourth house, okay? And so for those few months, you are going to get a sneak peek, a preview, you could say, of what the next few years are going to be like for you with Saturn in your fourth house. So this is a major time to pay attention as Saturn is giving you a preview before it retrogrades back into Capricorn, your third house, but then will eventually move back into Aquarius by the end of 2020. So when Saturn steps into Aquarius in your fourth house, you are going to find the need to really get serious and to really focus on your foundations in life, which mean your home life, your family life, your childhood, and anything that you want to change up to do with those areas of life, anything that you need to pay attention to or that is really going to make you take responsibility and make you work hard to achieve what you want. So maybe you have some long-term goals in regards to your family. Maybe you want to own a home, or maybe you want to live in some kind of different, unique living situation. Saturn is really going to help you accomplish those goals, but it's also going to show you where you're lacking in order to achieve those goals. So it's all going to have to do with your home and family. We also have Jupiter in your third house. So this is really expanding the way that you think about things. This is really expanding your knowledge and the way that you go about things, anything to do with media. So you could start doing something with media or technology to help other people learn things or to study things on your own, to expand the way that you think about things, expand the way you think about business. If you have a small business, if you're an entrepreneur, or you do some kind of freelance work, this is going to be great for that. So the more work that you put into this, the more you will receive a payback with Jupiter in your third house. So around the beginning of May, the nodes of the moon are going to switch into the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. So the north node, which is where our focus is going to be pushed towards, and the south node, which is what we're kind of releasing and leaving behind, are going to switch. So the north node is going to be in Gemini, the south node is going to be in Sagittarius. So the south node is going to go into your second house, okay, from your third house into your second house. So this is going to be very much so about your income, your self-worth, your different streams or forms of income, and your values, also what you own, your possessions. So this is why I really see a lot of you guys maybe getting more serious about your home life, because with that 4th house energy and with that 2nd house energy, it's kind of like what you own. Like, do you want to own property, or do you want to give up owning property for something a little bit more unique, something a little bit less, you know, less committed, if that makes sense? Because the North Node is going to be in Gemini, okay, which is a very changing energy. It shifts a lot. So basically, with that North Node in Gemini, it's going to go into your 8th house, Scorpio. So this is going to be very, very important. It's going to bring about change in the way that you think about things. It's going to help you rely on possibly other people for shared resources, shared finances. It's going to put your focus on your intimate relationships and becoming more curious about what your intimate relationships have to offer. It's going to help you become more curious about people's hardships and why people are the way that they are. It's going to help you become more curious about why people go through the things that they go through and what's going on in their mind, okay? The 8th house can be sometimes about investigations, and with Gemini here, I definitely see you wanting to get to the facts, wanting to get to the true logic of, you know, why you are the way you are and why other people are the way they are, especially in your intimate relationships, and also with your finances or shared resources. So you may have to make connections in order to do something financial. This is going to help you get out of your comfort zone and going to help you kind of learn how to deal with other people and deal with, you know, the more harder things of life, debt and other people's money, other people's resources, transformation, psychology, all of those kinds of things. You may also find yourself learning more about the occult or, you know, more hidden esoteric aspects of life in the year of 2020, which would be very good for you. But this is going to be very good for getting into the psychology of why you think the way you think, why you are the way you are. This would be a great aspect to have for shadow work. Some of you guys could end up being in, getting in to see some kind of like different people, like a psychiatrist or you know, a hypnosis, like getting into hypnosis or something along those lines, just different modalities of working with the mind. Now, I'm not telling you guys to go do that, obviously. I'm just saying that could be a result as something you guys end up looking into in 2020. I know it sounds a little bit weird, possibly now because we're not there yet and that energy is not present yet, but it's definitely coming up. And so I definitely could see you guys really just getting into thinking in the mind. Now this aspect did, these aspects did happen back in 2001. So if you want to think around 2001, what was going on in your life around that time, if you weren't too young and you can remember, and that way you can kind of see similar themes as to what was going on around that time and how it will be the similar themes that may come up around this time as well. This is also becoming curious about what's going on behind the scenes with other people. So this could be learning information that is not out into the light. This could be about learning other people's secrets, learning other people's traumas, something along those lines. Other people may feel like they can tell you things around this time in 2020. And the nodes are going to be in these signs for 18 months, starting the beginning of May. So keep that in mind. So these are going to be the focuses for you from May 2020 for the next 18 months after, okay? So the next thing that I want to talk about that I feel is a very big deal for you guys is the fact that your traditional ruling planet of Mars is going to be making some pretty big moves this year in the sign of Aries. It's going to be in the sign of Aries from about June 27th until the end of November, okay? And this is a really big deal because while it's in the sign of Aries, it's going to retrograde. Mars only retrogrades every 2 years, and it happens to be retrograding in one of its ruling signs of Aries. So it's retrograding in its home sign. But it is squaring over to all of the things going on in Capricorn, which are in your 3rd house. So in Aries happens to be your 6th house. So basically what is going to happen here is there could be some major power struggles when it comes to your work especially if you work with media or the internet, or if you are a small business owner or just an entrepreneur, freelance worker, your community, in your workspace or in your work life, there could be a huge power struggle, a huge shift that goes on here where there is some conflict, okay? Because with Mars in your 6th house of Aries, this is going to really bring up some conflict in your work life. Also some power struggles, authority issues in your work life. So you definitely want to pay attention around this time. Either you or someone else could be very pressuring, like maybe someone else could be pressuring you, okay? Or there could just be some kind of conflict with somebody else that is really slowing you down, or that is making you have to take responsibility or take accountability for something. Now, this could also be someone of authority in your community, okay, that is, you know, making some changes that affect your work life in some way, shape, or form. I'm just giving out examples, but basically this is going to affect your work life, your day-to-day routines, your health, and also your self-expression. So whether that's through communication, whether that's through technology, media, this is going to affect that. This could also bring up some conflict with siblings or distant relatives that somehow affect your work life or your day-to-day routines. So you do want to be careful about this around that time. And like I said, this is going to be happening around June 27th until the end of November, okay? But the goal here with Mars and Saturn hard energies is Mars is trying to rush. It's trying to be aggressive and assertive and confrontational, and Saturn is basically the adult. It's like slow down, take responsibility, be accountable, do the right thing, do it the right way. And so you have to find a balance between those two energies, and that is what this is going to force us to do. So you definitely want to pay attention around that time. Also, Venus is going to be retrograde in Gemini, which, like I said before, is your 8th house. So this could definitely bring up some blast from the past, some old relationship stuff from the past, especially if you're in a significant relationship, if you're in a committed relationship, or even if you have a business partnership. This could bring up some money issues, or some things from the past that you may have to deal with. And Venus is going to be retrograde from May 13th to around June 25th, okay? So those are some other energies you want to watch out for. So I know some of it may sound a little bit negative, but I just want to be honest with you guys. 2020 is not, it's going to be a rough but good year for everybody. Every year has its ups and downs. Yes, there are some years that are just total shit. And I don't think 2020 is going to be that. I think it's going to really force us to step into our power. And that's what I see for you, because that 8th house, like, yeah, it can deal with the hardships of life, but it's forcing you to step into your power as a Scorpio, which has a lot to do with how you express yourself. It has a lot to do with how you think. It has a lot to do with your mind and how you talk to people and how you communicate with people. And you may be even communicating about the darker sides of life, which may end up helping a lot of people, okay? So that is what I see for you guys as a Scorpio rising. Hopefully that ends up resonating. You can save this video and come back to it if you'd like to check up and see how it goes throughout the year. And we are going to move on to Sagittarius. What is going on, Sagittarius? And welcome to your 2020 predictions. So, woohoo! You guys have a big year ahead of you. I don't know if you know that or not, but you do. So the biggest thing that I think is happening for you as a Sagittarius rising, like I said, these are going to resonate more with your rising signs, but you may find some similarities in relations with your sun or moon signs. But basically, as a Sagittarius, the South Node is going to be in your sign, okay? It's moving out of Capricorn and into your sign because it moves backwards, okay? So the last time this happened was around 2001. So if you want to think back to then, if you can remember what was going on around 2000, 2001, that's the last time the South Node was in your sign and the North Node was in Gemini, okay? They're always opposite each other, and Gemini is your opposite sign. So you are going to be releasing and letting go of a lot of old identities, a lot of old things that are just no longer aligned with who you are. This is going to be a major karmic reconstruction of who you are as a person, and it's going to have you very focused on your relationships. You are going to be learning about yourself from your relationships. Now, it's going to be a little bit tricky because you're going to feel like, you know, instead of using your beliefs, which Sagittarius does, instead of seeking the truth and only going by your own truth, you're going to be a little bit more forced to listen to other people's opinions, to see different sides of situations, to become a little bit more curious about what other people think and why, and what that has to do with you, okay, and what that says about you. So the focus is going to be very much so on your relationships, your significant relationships in your life, since Gemini is your opposite sign. So this is going to be a big year for you, and the nodes stay in Gemini and Sag for 18 months. So starting the beginning of May is when this happens, when you'll start feeling this, and you'll probably feel a shift within your own energy and within the person that you want to be, or the path that you were possibly going down. If you're a Sagittarius sun, it'll be more about your path and what you think of yourself and your overall personality. If it's your rising sign, it's going to be more about what you identify as is going to change, okay? So anyways, the other big thing that's happening is Saturn is moving out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. So it's finally moving out of your second house of your resources, your income, your finances, your self-worth, your gifts, your talents, and what you own, what you possess, and moving into the sign of Aquarius. Now it's only going to be in Aquarius from March 21st until July 1st, when it moves back into Capricorn, to make sure that we learn the lessons. But then it will move back into Aquarius at the end of the year when it conjuncts Jupiter and makes the great conjunction, which is going to start the new age. So basically, what I think all of this means is that Sagittarius, you are gonna, for the last few years, you've been learning how to be more responsible when it comes to your money, when it comes to your streams of income, your sources of income. You've been learning how to be more structured and more responsible, more accountable when it comes to your possessions, what you own. You know, maybe you've been going through a lot with ownership and worth. What are things worth to you? What are the value of things to you within the last few years? And when Saturn moves out of your second house and into your third house of Aquarius, this is going to make you be more disciplined, more focused, more defined when it comes to areas of communication, when it comes to areas of broadcasting, media, putting yourself out there, how you communicate, how you think about things. Also your community, your location, and your environment. This house can also rule transportation, siblings, and distant relatives, okay? So that's kind of where the focus is going to change for you, and you're going to have to step it up and be more responsible, be more mature in those areas, okay? So Jupiter is also in Capricorn this year, and this is your second house. So where you have worked hard, where you have been responsible, where you have been accountable, and, you know, really worked hard on what your possessions, ownership, you know, your values, your responsibilities, this is where you will become more blessed. This is where you will become more rewarded with Jupiter here. So all that hard work that you've been putting in, Jupiter is going to help reward you in those areas, okay? The next big thing that's happening is Mars. So Mars is going to transit through Aries for a good like almost 6 months, and it's going to retrograde in Aries, which is your fellow fire sign. So this is going to trine you, so that is a good thing. Mars is going to enter Aries around June 27th, and Aries is your fifth house. So you're going to have this drive and this urge to really get things done when it comes to fifth house topics of entertainment, dating, pleasure, creativity, creative projects, right? But this house also rules children. So there may be some conflict with children if you have children around this time that arises, okay? And Mars is going to be in rough aspect with everything in Capricorn in your second house, okay? So this could be some conflict in, especially if you're a Sagittarius that's going through a breakup, a split up, and there's children involved. This could definitely be some conflict over children, who gets the children, because the second house is kind of like ownership. So who gets the children? Also, what do your children get? Maybe they need money from you, or maybe they want something from you that you own, right? In some kind of way. Or you are, you know, your values or what you're valuing or your self-worth is in conflict with your children somehow. Now, if you don't have children, this could be dating, if you're like newly dating someone, if you're in not like a super committed, significant relationship, but just in a more, you know, kind of still getting to know them phase, haven't been dating for super long or anything. And this could also be just your creative projects. You could be in some kind of conflict with money, your values, and your creative projects in some way. So maybe you're really wanting to work on something, you're really wanting to get something out there or do something, but your finances, your income, your values, something is kind of restricting you and holding you back. So what's good with this is it's going to force us to find a balance. We're going to have a lot of energy to want to do something, but we could be a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too risky, okay? And that's another thing. You don't want to take any big risk around this time, since it is in your 5th house of pleasure and entertainment. You don't want to take any big gambling risk around this time. Not a good idea. Once again, this is from about the end of June until the end of November of 2020, because it could really end up hurting your bank account, okay? So I'm just being all the way honest with you there. So you really want to keep that in mind. So Venus is going to retrograde in Gemini from around May 13th until June 25th. This is going to be a big deal for you guys because, like I said before, Gemini is your opposite sign. So this could definitely bring some past stuff up in your relationships and significant relationships. It could bring old relationships back from the past because something needs to be, you know, communicated, something needs to be closed out. It could bring exes back. It could bring, you know, just some things from the past back up into your relationships and for you to take a look at. It's going to be so you can understand another side of something, I feel. So you want to pay attention around that time as well. So that is what I see for you, Sagittarius. I don't think it's going to be a bad year. I think it's going to be a transformative year for sure, but in a good way. So I hope you didn't just hear all the more negative things. I am going to be real with you guys. 2020 is a huge year, okay, for everybody, but I do feel like it is really forcing you to get outside of your comfort zones, which you guys normally are cool with. So it should be good. Don't freak out. It's really about how you make of it, and it's also really about how it affects your chart. So just keep that in mind. This is general. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to Capricorn. What is up, Capricorn? Welcome to your 2020 predictions. So let's go ahead and get into it. So one of the biggest things that is happening this year for you, Capricorn, is your ruling planet of Saturn is finally stepping out of your sign for a few months before it retrogrades back in, but at least you'll get a few month break. Stepping out of your sign and into Aquarius, which is your 2nd house, okay? So it's going to step in from March 21st until July 1st, okay? So in this few months, it's really important for you to pay attention because this is going to give you a preview of what is going to come for you the next few years. And Saturn is your ruling planet, so wherever it goes, you feel it, okay? So when it steps into your 2nd house, this is going to help you get a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more focused, a little bit more responsible, and building structures for your finances, for your financial income, for what you own, what you possess, and doing it in a unique way, because Aquarius is a unique sign. It's different. It does things differently, okay? So you may want to do something unique in a way that is going to help you be more responsible with your finances, something along those lines. And also your self-worth, because your 2nd house rules what you value, what you put worth into, and it rules your gifts and your talents. So you may find that, you know, you're wanting to tap into more eccentric gifts that you have, or you're wanting to be a little bit more serious about your self-worth, your eccentricity, and really let that side out of you a little bit more with Saturn moving into your 2nd house, okay? So another big thing that's happening is the South Node is finally moving out of your sign, and it's going to move into Sagittarius, which is your 12th house. And the North Node is going to move into Gemini, which is your 6th house. So basically what's going to happen here is there is going to be, once this happens around the beginning of May, it's going to last until for like 18 months after the beginning of May. But basically what is going to happen here is you are going to flush out any subconscious belief systems that are just no longer aligned with you, okay? So this is going to be a huge reset, a huge flushing out of any subconscious belief systems that are just not for you anymore, that you needed to get rid of, okay? And your focus is going to be set on your 6th house of Gemini, so your daily routines, your work life, and your health, okay? So you could end up doing something for work that involves technology, that involves humor, that involves talking to people, communicating with people a lot. and or dealing with the mind, dealing with what you know, okay? So or dealing with a community of people in some way, but this is really going to be where your focus is put into. You're going to be focused on basically being a jack of all trades at work, having a finger in every pie in your everyday routines. Your everyday routines could change up a little bit, but it's going to be very logical, very mental. That's where the energy is going to be in Gemini, okay? You could also be traveling for work or doing something with transportation for work, or you could have a few different forms of work that you do every day, a few different jobs almost that you do every day in some way, shape, or form. So that could definitely be a possibility for you with the North Node moving in Gemini, but it is definitely going to focus on your daily routine, your work life, and your health, and also your habits, okay? This is going to also be addressing any mental health issues, since we are dealing with Gemini, which is the mind, and the health and daily routine life. So any mental habits you have, like mental health issues, anything like that, you could definitely be addressing face on for the next 18 months after May 2020. In order to heal with that Sagittarian South Node in the 12th house, releasing any old bad habits that just no longer serve you and healing from them, okay? So Jupiter is in your sign throughout 2020 until the very end of 2020 when it moves out of your sign with Saturn for the, Saturn's moving out again for the last time. And they both move into your second house together at the very end of 2020, which is going to be the start of a brand new age. So let's back up a little bit. So Jupiter in your sign. So this is rewarding you for hard work. This is really showing you and teaching you things from a higher perspective, from higher wisdom. And you're going to learn a lot this year, whether you want to or not. And you're going to learn a lot about yourself and who you identify as, who you are as a person. You're going to see where any rigid belief systems that you have about yourself or any rigid belief systems that you follow are restricting you and where you need to make space, okay? That is what Jupiter in your sign is going to give you. It's not all luck and Santa Claus and stuff like that. And it can also deal with your health. So you could be learning about new health regimens. With Saturn here, you've probably been really focusing on maybe losing weight, but Jupiter could come in and maybe help you with that. It will reward you for losing weight in some way, shape, or form if you can keep to it. You know what I mean? You do want to be careful though, because sometimes with Jupiter in the first, you can sometimes gain weight. But with Saturn here, basically for the most part of 2020, I feel that, and with Jupiter and Saturn's house and Saturn's sign, that's more of like losing weight and losing, Saturn is restriction, Jupiter is expansion. So I feel like wherever it is that you restrict, you're going to find expansion. So basically, wherever it is that you do the work, wherever it is that you buckle down, Jupiter is going to expand that. It's going to help you see that. It's going to help you see how it's working and why it's working. It's going to help you experience things from a higher perspective. So that's always good. So moving on. So another big event that that's happening this year is the Mars transit through Aries, which is going to happen around the end of June until the end of November. Okay, so it's going to be almost a 6-month transit, and it's going to be serious because Mars rules Aries, and it's going to retrograde in Aries. And Mars only retrogrades every 2 years, but Mars is going to be making some heavy aspects to your sign while it's retrograding and all of that stuff that you have in your sign right now. So this could feel not so good. This could feel like a conflict. This could feel like pressure is being put on you from basically where you have Aries, which is your 4th house. Yeah, so your 4th house. So this could feel like pressure is being put on you on the home front or with the family somehow, okay? So somehow, some way, you are being pressured by family or relatives, your past or your childhood, or something regarding your home. Anything regarding your home, your private life could be pressuring you in some ways, putting pressure on you, pressure on who you are or who you want to be, in order to change you, in order to teach you something, in order to help you learn something, okay? Because with Jupiter there, it's going to help you learn. Whatever you go through, you're going to be able to learn from it. You're going to be able to grow from it. But yeah, there could be some kind of conflict that you get in with your family where they're like really pressuring you or really trying to change you in some way, shape, or form. Or there could be a conflict with yourself, honestly, where you are really trying to rush things, you are really trying to assert yourself in a situation where you're feeling very confrontational regarding your family or your home life. and it's putting a lot of pressure on you. So you need to make sure around this time that you are handling things, that you are getting things done but not trying to rush, handling things from an adult perspective and being mature and wise about them, okay? So we are also going to have a Venus retrograde this year in the sign of Gemini. So this is going to happen around May 13th until June 25th. So basically, Venus rules our relationships, our creativity, our money. So when it goes retrograde, these things can become a little bit confusing, just like a Mercury retrograde. Relationships can come back from the past. So with this being in the sign of Gemini in your 6th house, okay, there could be some issues regarding work, miscommunications at your work, your relationships, your connections with your coworkers. There could be some miscommunication, some mishaps involving that. There could be possibly some romance that forms at work where you have to kind of like, something happens and you kind of have to go within. It's really important around this time to not try to like blow any money or anything like that. You want to be careful with money around this time as well. Not take any like big risk with money around this time or with work. But yeah, you could be feeling very creative at work, or you could be exploring old creative passions that are being brought out in the workplace. So that is kind of what I'm seeing for you, and a brief description for the Venus retrograde in Gemini. So that is basically it for Capricorn. Those are like the main big things that I am seeing for Capricorn. I am trying to keep this video shorter because I've already been filming for a few hours now, and yeah, so and we're gonna go over it anyway every step of the way throughout the year. So anyways, I love you Capricorns, thank you for watching, and we are gonna move on to Aquarius. What is up, Aquarius, and welcome to your 2020 predictions. So let's go ahead and get into it. The biggest thing that is happening for you guys this year is your traditional ruler, Saturn, is now moving into your sign this year, just for a few months before it moves back into Capricorn, and then it will move back into your sign again at the end of the year. So what does this mean for you? So Saturn is going to move into your sign from March 21st until July 1st. So between those few months, you really want to pay attention to what's going on, because Saturn will be showing you a preview of what's about to come for the next few years. Saturn takes a few years to go through each sign, so you really want to pay attention to what's going on, because it's going to be in your sign for the next few years. So this is going to help you grow up, become responsible, make big commitments, take responsibility, take accountability. This is going to really just help you. It can help you lose weight as well if that's what you're trying to do. But it's going to help you be more disciplined. It's going to help you focus on what really matters. It's going to help you focus on your self-worth, your health. It's going to help you get in shape, and it's going to help you focus on how you appear to other people. It's going to help you work hard. It's going to help you worry about your long-term goals and your accomplishments when it moves into your first house, okay? Now, Jupiter is in Capricorn in your 12th house, and it's going to move into your sign at the very end of the year. But while it's in your 12th house, this is going to be almost like, for whatever reason, I think of this as kind of like the guardian angel aspect when Jupiter is in the sign right before yours. It can be like a lot of weird coincidences that come up, weird synchronicities that come up that you can't really explain because it's in the sign right before yours, which is a little bit hidden from you, right? So it can be information from higher realms that you just understand or that you just experience. You can't explain it. You don't know where it comes from. It's just there. So it's kind of like you have a guardian angel looking out for you. It can be, you know, you speeding past a cop, but somehow they pull over the car right behind yours. Like, just little things like that can happen with Jupiter in the sign right before yours. But this is definitely helping you expand your consciousness, expand your beliefs wherever you have rigid or just old traditional beliefs, really expanding those and understanding a new way of thinking, understanding just coming to a higher understanding with your subconscious. So the other big thing that is happening is the nodes are finally moving out of Cancer and Capricorn. They're moving into Gemini and Sagittarius. So Gemini is your 5th house, okay? So once the North Node moves into Gemini and the South Node moves into Sagittarius, which is your 11th house, you are going to be more focused on going within, finding your own personal creativity, finding your own personal understanding of what really makes you feel good, okay? You're going to be connecting with people on a more personal level instead of worrying about putting yourself out into the world, worrying about having a bunch of friends or a big group of people, or you know what's going on in the world. You're going to be more pushed to focus on your hobbies, your talents, and your creativity and your imagination. You may have like a few friends, but it's going to be a more personal connection. You're going to be way more focused on you and what you do for entertainment and pleasure and fun and how you express your creativity, okay? This is really going to be about self-expression and finding that self-expression within you. And it's also going to be about children. So if you have any children, the focus is going to be on them. It's going to be focused on healing your inner child and understanding your children and really understanding your own inner child, like I said. So that is where your focus will be pushed to after the beginning of May 2020 for the next 18 months. So then we have the Mars transit through Aries, which is such a big deal because Mars rules Aries, and it's going to be in Aries for half of the year, starting at the end of June and ending at the end of November. Mars is also going to retrograde in Aries, and Mars only retrogrades every 2 years, and it just happens to be retrograding in its ruling sign. So this is a big deal because Mars is going to be making some heavy aspects to all of the stuff that we have in Capricorn in your 12th house, okay? So Mars in Aries, Aries for you is your 3rd house, and it's going to be aspecting the stuff in your 12th house, okay? It's going to be in a square with the stuff in your 12th house. So this is a big deal because there could be things coming out through the media. If you're involved in the media or if you're involved in technology somehow, there could be a lot of things coming out from behind the scenes. Your 12th house can rule hidden enemies. It rules your subconscious. It rules what's hidden from you. So there could be a lot of things you weren't expecting that are exposed in your local community or through the media somehow. There could be a lot of conflict with the people in your community or your neighborhoods or whatever. There could be a lot of power struggles, okay, as well. Now, what this could also mean is that your subconscious is your dreams are maybe trying to expose something to you through synchronicity. You could be like at the right place, right time for something weird or crazy to go down around this time where you're kind of forced to pick it apart and really think about what this situation is trying to tell you, okay? You could also be feeling a little bit angry, irritated, agitated with people, with talking to people, with communicating with people, or just with people online or people in your local environment or community. And the reason why is kind of subconscious, so you're not really seeing it all the way, if that makes sense. And there could be some power struggles going on within yourself, within your self-expression. Maybe you want to express yourself, but you're too tired or something's holding you back, like Saturn is like restricting you when it comes to your energy, or you're feeling like you're not sleeping well or something along those lines, so it's hard for you to focus during the day. Something like that. Those are just examples, but it's definitely going to deal with the way you communicate, the way you express yourself, your local environment, your siblings, your distant relatives, and then also your subconscious, your dreams, your sleep, your past. There could be someone that comes back from the past that picks a fight with you. So just be aware around that time, the last like 6 months of the year is when that stuff could start kind of coming up. And then also we have the Venus retrograde in Gemini. And like I said before, Gemini is your 5th house. So the Venus retrograde in your 5th house could really bring back some old crushes, some old romances, some old relationship stuff in order for you to close that chapter of your life, or in order for you to see the other side of a situation, okay? It could also bring up some old hobbies, some old creative projects that maybe you want to start working on again. So that kind of energy could come up around that time. That happens from May 13th to June 25th. So altogether, Aquarius, I think that it's going to be a very interesting year. I think it's going to be better than the previous few years. I feel like a lot of that heaviness is going to get lifted off of you. You're really going to find your power and step into being a more responsible, mature person. Not that you already aren't. Basically, you are just going, Saturn is going to help you and teach you how to be more responsible while it transits your first house and teach you what true worth is and where it comes from. Now, the negative aspect to this is it can help you, it can make you kind of lack on your self-confidence. It can make you, pick yourself apart because Saturn is restriction. So you may feel a little bit restricted, whether it's within your self-worth or whether it's in your confidence. But once you learn how to work with this energy and once you learn how to really work on yourself and your self-worth, because Saturn rewards through hard work. So once you put in the work to figuring out why you're not confident in the first place, that's when you get rewarded. Plus then Jupiter will be moving into your sign at the end of the year. So the focus is definitely going to be on you here soon. So I feel like this year is like the preparation for it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, Aquarius, and we are going to move on to Pisces. What's up, Pisces? Welcome back to my channel. And we are going to go over your 2020 predictions. So let's get right into it. So the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that is happening this year is Saturn is finally moving out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, which is your 12th house. Now it's only going to spend a few months here before it retrogrades back into Capricorn, but it will come back into your 12th house by the end of 2020 again. So basically what this means for you, Pisces, is that once Saturn moves into your 12th house, this is your place of your subconscious. If you're a Pisces rising, obviously, this is the place of your subconscious. So you are going to be cleansing out major old karmic cycles, major old past subconscious karmic cycles. Saturn is really the keeper of time and karma, and so you are definitely going to clean out anything heavy that's been stuck in your subconscious that you no longer need. Saturn is going to really help you do the work to figure out what it is and help you clear it out, okay? And then Jupiter will end up moving in there as well, and that will just help you even more by the end of the year. But Saturn is going to be in your 12th house from March 21st until July 1st of this year. So you want to pay attention those few months to really see what Saturn is teaching you, or because Saturn's going to be previewing what it's going to be showing you in those few months. So then the next big thing is the nodes are finally moving out of Cancer and Capricorn and into Gemini and Sagittarius. So the North Node will be in Gemini. So as a Pisces rising, Gemini is your 4th house. So your focus will be pushed towards your home life, your family life, and anything that needs to change in your home life and your family life, also your childhood. You will be forced to get curious about your family, get curious about where you come from, get curious about your childhood and why you are the way you are. And if you want to think back to 2000 to 2001, which was the last time that the nodes were in these signs, you want to think, well, the last time the North Node was in Gemini, you want to think back to around that time to possibly get an idea of the themes that went on in your life around that time, especially regarding home and career, okay? So with Gemini moving in, with the North Node moving into Gemini in your 4th house, this may be a good time to move or to switch things up and to really think about where it is that you want to live or where it is that you would like to live and your community that you live in, what community you would like to live in, and things like that. Now the South Node is going to be in your 10th house of Sagittarius, and so you are going to really be getting rid of old career paths, old life paths that maybe you were going down that just didn't work for you anymore. And you're really going to be focused on the home. So from May 13th until June 25th, we are also going to have a Venus retrograde in the sign of Gemini, which, like I said before, is your 4th house. So basically what you may experience is people coming back from your past, old relationships from your past. You may experience family dynamic stuff that comes up from your past or even your childhood, but there could definitely be a lot of relationship stuff that comes up from your past or even your partner's family, your partner's past could come up around this time. So you definitely want to pay attention around this time. You could also find that you are wanting to renovate your home or redecorate your home and really just recreate your space that you live in. Another big thing we have happening this year is the Mars transit through Aries, which starts on June 27th and doesn't end until the end of November. Now this is a really big deal, Pisces, because Mars rules Aries. Mars is going to retrograde in Aries, so it's going to spend almost half the year in Aries, the second half of the year in Aries, and it's going to be making some challenging aspects to all of that stuff in Capricorn in your 11th house, Pisces. So basically what that means is Mars is going to be in your second house of Aries. And so you're going to feel very ambitious, very motivated, and very just energetically charged to really focus on your income, your finances, to do something about your income, your money, your finances, ownership, your possessions, what you own, what you put value into, what you put worth into. But it's going to be squaring all of that stuff over in Capricorn in your 11th house, okay? So you could be dealing with some issues with friends, or some issues with society, some issues with basically other people's opinions of you in some way, or like friends wanting to borrow money from you, or you needing to borrow money from friends, but it's not working out somehow. There's definitely something to do with what you own, including your money, and also your friends, your social circles, the groups of people you belong to. Maybe you are, making something or creating something for them, and they are not giving you what you deserve in some way, and it starts some kind of conflict, okay? And so this is really important to pay attention to around this time, because there could be some power struggles. So you definitely want to pay attention to that. Now, also with the Gemini North Node in your 4th house, you could be doing something from home that involves communication, technology. Like I said, you could be working from home. That won't be true for all of you, but there could be some of you that end up doing something from home, working with media or broadcasting or technology or phone calls, any kind of communication, emails, whatever, where you're really doing something from home. Now, this could also be some of you guys like renting out homes, or like, choosing to move around frequently for whatever reason, or like just not getting in like a super committed home situation to where maybe you just have a few, like you go and stay certain places just to get out or get around or something along those lines. I could definitely see that happening for some of you guys. But yeah, it's definitely going to put a focus on where you live, your home life, your home environment, what needs to change in your home environment, and really your personal life and your own personal thoughts about things, your own personal truths. Some of you guys could be selling something from your home, something along those lines. So that is basically what I am seeing for you guys, Pisces, for the year of 2020. Obviously, I've been wanting to keep these kind of brief because I knew this video would be long, and we're going to go over it every step of the way here on my channel, so make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss out. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys, and definitely feel free to save this video to come back to throughout the year if you need to see if it's accurate, or to check up to see what the hell's going on. And yeah, I love you guys. That completes this video. Bye.